Good evening, everybody. This is the Carver Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for the date of January 11, 2022. We are in room 4 in the Carver Town Hall. With us, as usual, are most of our board members. We're missing one tonight that I will tell you about in a moment, but we also welcome, as we usually do, our friends from cable who are here filming this evening. The vice chair is out tonight due to a physical disability, which has sidelined her, hopefully briefly. But we are a board of 5 with a 6th as an alternate, and that 6th, who is Mr. Barrington, sitting to my far left, will be taking on a voting role tonight, so we will have a full board. It's my custom to take care of administrative matters first, so let's talk about the meeting minutes of October 26th, which everyone should have a copy of, and of course, as is my custom, I get these to you folks well in advance, so we don't have to sit here and plow through them and waste time. The minutes of October 26th go on for nearly 6 pages, single-spaced. Has everybody had an opportunity to read through these?
Yes.
Does anyone have any changes, amendments, or modifications that they'd like to make? All right. Do I hear a motion to accept these minutes as written? And these are the minutes of October
26.
October 26, 2021.
Yep. So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So those minutes are accepted as written. Let's go on to the second set of minutes. These are the minutes of December 7, 2021. Again, I hope everybody's had a chance to review these minutes. These are 6 full pages, single-spaced. Has everybody had a chance to look at these?
Yes.
Does anyone have any change, amendment, or modification they'd like to make? Do I hear a motion to accept these minutes then as written? These are the minutes of December 7, 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so those meeting minutes are approved as well. Next on our meeting agenda this evening is a request by Deborah Myers of 13 Priscilla Mullins Way for a 2-year renewal of a special permit for the operation of a home-based horse stable business. Is Deborah here this evening?
I'm right here.
Hello, Deborah.
Hello.
I'm glad you could make it tonight.
Yes.
Tell us what's going on with your home-based horse stable business. Anything change?
We did have a change. I did reduce down a little bit for personal reasons. I had a medical diagnosis come up last year, and because of that, I decided to reduce. I had 7 stalls, which allowed for 7 horses. I've sold one of the buildings. It was the 3, I had a 10 by 30 building that had 3 stalls. I sold that building.
That one is on your property, right?
Yes, yeah. Now I have just 4 stalls and then the barn. So we went from 4 buildings to 3. So we have the barn, which houses our tack and hay and feed and all that. And then we have a building that is 2 stalls, and then one other building that is also 2 stalls. So we went from 7 to 4, 4 buildings to 3.
Okay.
And that was the only change.
So, from 7 horses to 4,
Yep.
and from 4 buildings to 3.
Yep.
Is the barn that houses 3 horses, is that full of somebody else's horses now?
The barn that housed 3, that's the one that's gone. So I have 2 that do 2 each. So I have 3 horses now, 2 are mine, and 1's a boarder, and I have 1 empty that I can fill. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not sure that you answered the question, or maybe I misunderstood. You went from 4 buildings to 3.
Right.
What happened to that 4th building?
I sold it, it's not there anymore.
Okay, that's what I needed to hear.
It's been removed from the property,
Okay, all right.
yes. Yeah.
Does any member of the board have any questions? This is for a 2-year renewal. Any complaints or any issues received by you
Not that I'm
from?
aware of, no. Actually, when I dropped my letter off for renewal back in October, I had inquired, but I hadn't heard anything, and the person at the office told me she hadn't heard anything, there was no complaints.
No news is good news,
That's right.
right?
So the renewal, is the renewal just, you're going to be keeping it at the 4?
Yes,
Before
yeah, I'm
now-
not looking to expand or change any further. I'll keep my 4.
So you were permitted for
I was permitted for 7
7.
initially.
okay, so you're
Yeah.
asking for the renewal, but it will be for 4 instead of 7?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, everybody understand that?
Yep.
So there will be a modification of the permit that will write up, so that you will now be allowed 4 horses and 3 buildings. Does anyone else have any questions, comments?
And it would be a 2-year permit.
A 2-year permit.
Yeah, we did 2-year last year because my neighbor had his opinion, so we did the 2 beforehand, so.
Okay.
I'm fine with 2.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Frank, you good? I'm good. All right. Do I hear a motion to, well, and this really isn't a public hearing that we would have to close, but do I hear a motion to allow the 2-year renewal for the operation of a home-based horse stable business limited to 4 horses and 3 buildings on that property?
Motion to renew.
And all other conditions as set forth originally.
Yes. Except that we're reducing the horses, the
Except
number of
for-
horses
yep.
and the number of buildings.
Yep.
So did somebody make a motion?
Jim did.
Yep. Motion to renew.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You done?
Perfect. Can I go get out of the cold now and go get in my warm bed?
There you go.
That was too cold for me today.
Check on
Thank you,
the,
everybody, I appreciate it.
check on the horses before you go.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
You're welcome. We now move to our continued public hearings this evening. The first one is case number 12-16-24R, the petitioner being Douglas, is it Riccio or Riccio?
It's Riccio.
Riccio,
Yeah.
okay, both of them are, requesting dimensional variances pursuant to sections 2320 and 5222 of the Carver zoning bylaw for property located at 21 Quaker Road in Carver. Assessors map 12, lot 16-24R, so as to construct an attached 2-car garage along with a master bedroom and family room addition in the residential agricultural district. Variances are being requested due to the need for front and side setback relief. So let's sort of recapitulate. We opened a public hearing on this on December 7th, 2021. And you advised us, Mr. Riccio, that you required a sideline variance of approximately 9.9 feet and frontage variance of 14.8 feet in order to accomplish the
Yes, that's correct.
construction that you want to have us approve. You have suggested to us that due to the soil conditions and topography of the lot, that the granting of these 2-dimensional variances would be legally allowable, primarily because the location of the septic system serving the residents, as well as the sloping nature of the lot from the street to the rear, which has flooded previously.
Yeah.
You have said that the only viable location on the lot for the proposed construction was to the front and right side, as you look at the house from the street. You say that the left side is needed for a septic system
Yes.
reserve area, and you would be put to substantial financial hardship, which would involve the need to relocate the driveway and electrical service to the house if the proposed construction were to be on the left side.
Yes.
So you're suggesting to us that it really has to be on the right side, and this is why you require these dimensional variances. You have indicated to us that the shed on the right side, the existing shed, is going to be flipped over to the left side, and the shed that's over there on the left side now is going to be removed
Yes.
from the property.
Yep.
We have also told you that you would need to obtain any necessary waivers from the Health Department, and that any relief that might be granted by this board would be subject to this as well as to the plans of record. At that point, we suspended and decided, I think it was Mr. Casey that made the motion that we go out and do a site visit, which was accomplished on January 8th, a much warmer morning than it was this morning. And we,
How about that?
Some sound in our favor.
we observed the area, walked the property with you and your wife, who I observe is here tonight. Hi. And I want to ask you at this point, or actually before I do ask you, I want to indicate for the record that we received an email from Kevin Forge
Yes.
dated December 13th, 2021, which is now part of the record. And for board members, I'll read this. It's brief. This email is in regard to ZBA case number 12-1624R for the property at 21 Quaker Lane, in this case. I have reviewed the plan of record filed with this case and make the following statements. 1, the plan shows that the proposed foundation wall is to be constructed less than 20 feet minimum from the existing septic leaching area. However, a polyvinyl barrier is proposed to be placed at the foundation. This will effectively stop any potential migration of effluent from the septic system through the foundation. I do require that when this is done in the field, that I be contacted to conduct an inspection. And number 2, the current septic system has sufficient capacity for any additional sewage generated as a result of the proposed addition and garage. Thank you. So that email is part of the record, and I think the board members have been given a copy of this email.
Yes.
Is that true? Has everybody had a chance to
Yep.
consider that? So that was one of the pieces that we needed to get some more information on when we were last in session on this particular case. Mr. Riccio, Mrs. Riccio, do you have anything further that you'd like to add tonight? Yes or no? Anything new?
Yes. Just some slight changes to the overall height of the addition that we had discussed
All right.
previously. And
The height of the addition is going to be how high?
the height, the new height of the addition is going to be 24 foot 4 inches, 4 3/4 inches. And you had asked us to bring some copies of the new drawings with us.
Yes.
Which we have here if you'd like to.
Hey, momentarily. Can you tell me what the peak of the roof is of the existing house?
Yes, the existing house is 14 feet 5.5 inches.
And for the record, when we did make our site visit, I think Mr. Poirier and I noticed almost exactly at the same time that the house across the street has sort of a similar setup where the principal residence has a height lower than the attached garage, and I would assume there's a family room or some sort of living space above. So we have a lower roof line for the principal residence, and then when they built on it, it was higher. So it's sort of similar, I think, in terms of your unequal height measurements in terms of what you want to do.
Yes, that's correct.
Go ahead. What else did you want to tell us?
So the overall height of the garage to the ridge line has changed, like we had mentioned, and that just changes the overall height to the existing ridge line.
And it changed by a total of 2 feet 7 inches from the previous drawing.
2 feet 7 inches higher.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'd like if you guys could put this drawing
Those as
on the
record.
record. And we'll give a copy.
You want what?
I didn't know if you would like to put this with the file.
Yes, please.
And then we'll give a copy to the building inspector too, when all that happens.
Yes. So, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will be recusing myself from this vote. Okay. As in a butter.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a little speech to give you. This complicates things a bit.
Okay.
With Mr. Barrington stepping down from a voting role on this case and Ms. Clark absent tonight, as I mentioned at the top, we are now down to a 4 voting member board. What does that mean? What it means is that for you to be granted the relief that you are requesting, we have to agree, the 4 of us unanimously. If we were a board of 5, you could still get your variances from us if the vote were 4-1 in favor. So it's a tactical or strategic decision for you to make at this time. You could, without any prejudice or without any feeling of angst from us, decide that you wanted to push this off to our next meeting date, so that we would have a voting member, all voting members, a voting group of 5 present. If you decide that you want to go forward tonight, we're happy to continue this. Now, if you need a moment or two to think about it, to step outside, to discuss it with the boss, please do so. Or if both of you are in agreement that you would like to proceed, then we're happy to do that as well, with the understanding that the 4 of us must agree unanimously. The reason that this rule is in place, and it's state law, is because what we do here is considered to be so significant that the state does not want anything less than all 4 of us agreeing if we're a board of 4, or 4 out of 5 if we are a board of 5. Because what you're asking us to do is break the law in your favor. The bylaws are the laws of the town of Carver. So when you come before us asking for dimensional variances, you're asking us to break the local law in your favor. And you've made your case. We've heard your various arguments, and you have done your homework. And now it's time for you to tell us how you would like to proceed.
Yeah.
I think that with, like, what you just said, with all the preparation we've done and the things that we've gone through and the cases that we've made, I think that we'd be more than comfortable then to continue with this and see what you guys had to say.
So for the record, you are waiving your right to have this case go to a vote in front of a full board, and instead are prepared to move forward with a board of 4. Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, if you would allow me a minute, after giving that little speech, to look at your plan here. Does anyone have any questions after reviewing the drawings? Frank, you good? Mr. Poirier?
Everything's good on my end.
Ms. Mello?
I'm good.
When are you looking to begin this project, should we grant you the requested relief?
We'd like to hopefully start to break ground in early March, if that all works out with the weather and weather permitting. There's still a few things, obviously, we need to get taken care of with budget items and things like that, and talking to the right contractors, but we're hoping for a March start.
Does anyone have any questions or comments based upon the site walk that we went on? Everybody good? Everybody's quiet tonight. Is it because the lips are frozen or what?
We saw everything that we needed to see on Saturday, I felt.
Except the coffee and the donuts.
Well,
We had the heater.
Yes,
no,
you
that's
did.
true.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
Actually, that was more important.
Really good response.
And since there are no questions up here, do either of the members of the public who are present have anything they would like to say? Okay, they are silent as well. So at this point, I ask for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing is closed, and now we move on to a consideration of what findings we should make, if any, on this case. And you are looking for a sideline variance of 9.9 feet and a frontage variance of 14.8. Is that true?
Yes.
Does anybody feel 10 and 15? I was just going to suggest that, Ms. Mel, yes. Why don't we round up the 9.9 to 10 and the 14.8 to 15 to give you a little bit of wiggle room, because sometimes these things can be off just a little bit, and they're off a little bit, then you have to come back, and I know you like us and we like you, but you don't want to waste time, right? So, I suggest that the board consider the following finding. That the board finds that owing to circumstances relating to soil conditions and/or topography of the structures or lot, but not affecting the district generally, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship to the petitioner, and that relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. Is anyone prepared to make a motion to accept that finding?
I'll make that motion.
You're a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I suggest that the following motion now be considered by this board. That per section 2253, nope, sorry, wrong one.
Hold on.
That a variance under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 10, for a dimensional variance of 10 feet on the sideline and 15 feet of frontage be granted from the Carver zoning bylaws. And again, this all being necessary due to both the topography and the soil conditions of the subject lot. Do I hear a motion to accept that decision in the granting of these two dimensional variances?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Not done. The next thing we have to discuss is any conditions that we want to attach to the granting of these two variances. Let me suggest to the board that the condition that we should attach to this is that the proposed construction is to be subject to the plans of record, which have been passed in tonight and which I will make a part of the board file. Do I hear a motion to accept that condition, that the proposed
on.
construction be subject to the plans of record?
What was not included tonight was the plot plan, which should go with it because it talks about the septic and the barrier.
Okay, so
All right.
both based on the plans and the plot of the drawings and the plot plan,
Yep.
that our decision to grant these dimensional variances are conditioned upon those two documents. Do I hear a motion to accept
Well,
that
before we do
condition?
that, I guess my question is, Are you thinking of any other, in other words, do we have to vote on the conditions individually? Or?
This is the only condition that I was going to
Oh, okay.
propose, unless somebody else
No,
had some.
I didn't
some
know
other
whether there was
condition.
anything else that needed to be.
Okay, is there any other condition that anybody can think of?
No,
One other one I can think of, no loud parties in there. All right?
Yeah.
Everybody okay with this condition?
Yes.
yes.
Do I hear a motion to accept that condition?
I'll make a motion to accept that condition.
Which is that the dimensional variances are granted based upon the plans of record and the plot plan.
Yep.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, your gamble paid off.
Thank you very much.
And you have your dimensional variances. And I'm the one that writes these up. So I am usually pretty quick before I start forgetting details and thinking about other things like my day job. So I'll try to get this done in the next day or two. And then I distribute it to the members of this board for their edits, if they have any. So I would expect, since today is Tuesday, maybe by Friday or Monday, this will be filed with the office of the town clerk here, which kicks off a potential 20-day appeal period for anybody who feels that, they have an issue with this all of a sudden. At the end of that 20 days, you're good to go. Make sure, however, that you record a copy of our decision with the Registry of Deeds
Absolutely.
in Plymouth.
In Plymouth, yeah.
Do either one of you have any questions?
No
You're good.
questions?
Just thank you very much. for
Happy
everything.
New Year.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Okay.
Feel free to stop by anytime in the summer and check it out.
Beer and pizza then.
Yes, deal.
Loud party.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
A couple of us are in the three of us are in the immediate neighborhood, so
Yes.
we may take you up on it. Thank you.
very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck
Have
tonight.
a good one.
I know.
Okay. So what we want to do now is this. Do we have a copy of this plot plan in our,
That's what this is.
no, do we have a copy of the plot plan amongst our handouts?
Well, we got a copy with the first handout, but she changed the handouts tonight. And the handouts, so originally, yes, we did have a plot plan.
Okay, I'm going to take this back.
Yes.
All right. I have to have something to refer to when I draft the decision.
So, well, do you want my plot plan to go with whatever's going back into the file?
I got it here, I got everything. Okay, let's move on to our next hearing, which is also a continued case. This is case 82-1-1R. The petitioners being Keith and Carol Howes, who I observe to be present tonight. Is this Keith in the back?
No, he's still rolling around in a wheelchair, so
Okay,
he almost came, but
okay. Well, tell them we miss him.
it's a lot to get him out of the house.
These folks are requesting a special permit pursuant to sections 2245C, 5221, and 5300, and sections following of the Carver zoning bylaw for property located at 223 Meadow Street in Carver. Assessors map 82, lot 1-1-R, so as to construct a 30 by 60 square foot detached garage. That's 1,800 square feet. Maximum allowed is 700 square feet under the bylaws, and all of this in a residential agricultural district. Let the record show that we also went on a site visit to this property on December 7th, no, not December 7th, January 8th, excuse me. We opened the hearing on December 7th. And we, when we went to the site visit, we spoke with Ms. Howes and got a little bit more information about the proposed construction. And Ms. Howes, I want to ask you a couple of questions before we get any deeper into this tonight. Is the plan that you presented to this board on December 7th still your plan?
It is the plan that we want to use. It is the builder we want to use.
I'm not sure I understood the answer to that question. Are you changing the plan at all that you brought before this board on December 7th? Yes or no?
Only size-wise, if
That's,
Yeah.
okay. So talk to me about what change you want to make on the size.
well, you had suggested when we were looking, when you were there, if I would be okay with reducing the dimensions.
And what have you decided to do with regard to size?
Because it was, you didn't want it to be bigger than the house.
Well,
Square footage-wise.
we had some general discussion, but we also talked about the fact that you apparently are going to have a second floor in this garage. Is that true?
A loft, yeah.
Now, is this loft going to be open on one end, or is it going to be enclosed on all ends?
No, it's going to be just over the front of it.
Okay, and again, I'm not sure I understood the answer to that question. Question is any side of this loft going to be open or not?
I guess it remains to be seen whether we even can put a loft. It's potential to have a loft, I guess you could say.
This board can't operate based on potentials. We operate on plans presented to us. So the reason I'm asking these questions, and I'm kind of pushing this issue with you,
Yeah.
is because if you have a loft up there and it's enclosed with a floor and a door to get up there and so forth, then that's going to add to your square footage. So right now, based on the plan that you presented to the board on December 7th, you had an 1,800 square foot garage, which is going to be substantially bigger than the house on that lot. And if you're going to add a loft too, which is enclosed with a full floor, enclosed on both ends, then we're talking about more than 1,800 square feet, because that area would have to be counted as well as a second floor. So it doesn't really matter what it's going to be used for, at least based on the conversation we're having now. So long as it's an enclosed space with a floor, it's been historically the practice of this board to count that as additional square footage.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So I did, what I did do, because the request of last meeting was that, they wanted to have an idea of what it was going to look like. So I did the best I could with my drawing, because the man who originally drew the house plans is no longer doing it. So in order to show that it looks similar to what we are working with the house, I did my best to make it look like shingles, and so from the front, that's what the garage will look like. And I showed a picture of what the existing house is so that you could see the style of the house. And then I did try taking a picture of the house, but the daylight was just really difficult to get it to do a good job. And I purposely left the truck there, so that would be where this garage is going to be.
okay, so
And then I also, you had mentioned that you wanted the height of the house and the height of the garage, which I did put those on there. And then I put, as far as on the front page, the original dimensions that we had asked for were 30 by 60, which came to, and the loft area was 30 by 20 is what I put in, which is just a portion of that inside. So the other option to the right is making it smaller. So when you had talked to me about would we be willing to make the garage smaller?
well, there's an option.
Yeah. So by doing that, it does bring it below the square footage of the house. The height is lower than the house. So it seemed like a good compromise to,
So the square footage of the house is 2231.
yeah.
The garage with loft is going to be 2,100 square feet. So
With the reduced size,
at
yes.
the reduced size, so slightly smaller than the house.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to show us?
No, that's...
Okay. Well, go ahead, Fran.
Okay, one of my first questions, looking at the plans here, it says the house, 2231 square feet, the height 23.
Yep.
Where is the height of the garage? Oh, I see it
on
on
the first
page
page.
what?
First page.
19
Feet, yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the height's going to be, it's going to be less high, the proposed construction is less high than the height or the peak of the house,
Which
right?
is why I gave you that view of the side of the house that shows.
All right, so I want to go back to the loft for a minute.
Okay.
You have told us that you intend to use that loft for storage.
Yes.
And I would imagine that you're going to be climbing a staircase from the ground level up to the loft to get there,
Yeah.
right? And at the top of that staircase, is there going to be a door?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And the walls on, you're going to have walls on either side, and you're going to have a wall in the back, right? So it's going to be like a square-ish room
Yep.
used for storage
Yep.
that you're referring to as the loft.
Yes.
Okay. And it's going to be a full floor. It's not going to be one of these lofts where you have beams and you kind of have to hop from beam
No.
to beam, right? And I've been in those lofts before. Okay. So I'll stand down here for a minute, but this is still super large. And I recognize that you're trying to get it to a size that's a little bit more amenable to perhaps some suggestions that you had heard. But, you know, you're now talking 2,100 square feet when we include the second floor.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't think that we've ever permitted a garage situation greater than 1,800 square feet. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you have memories that are better than mine.
And that was
Probably all of you do. But 1,800, I think, is the biggest we've ever gone. So now we're looking at one that, even in its downsized form, is 2,100 square feet. So I guess you need to be thinking, at least this is coming from me, not from anybody else, you need to be thinking about whether you really need all of that space. That's a lot of space. A lot. And it would be the biggest we've ever permitted. And given what I do for a living, I'm really kind of focused on precedent and not, you know, coming up with decisions all over the place where we say to this person over here, okay, you can have 2,100 square feet, but this person over here can only have 1,700 square feet. And then it looks like we're not being equanimous.
Yeah.
We want to be, if anything, consistent and open about these proceedings and what we have the tendency to do. So I don't know what you, Mr. Poirier, or you, Mr. Casey, or you, Ms. Mel, think about all this. You, Mr. Barrington, you're in on this case as a voting member. We have a full 4 to 5 for this one. So whatever comments you want to make, go right ahead. Don't everybody talk.
Are you talking to the board?
Yes.
You're talking to the board?
Yeah, I'm talking to
Okay.
the board.
Well, one thing, you know, the 30 by 60, I wanted to hear why, okay? And so I hear some equipment and I hear storage, but that's 30 by, well, even the 28 by 55 is a house and a half. So that's a lot of storage. And for myself, I don't even think we've done 1,800 square feet.
I think we did once.
Was that on Main Street?
I forget. Mr. Poirier, do you remember the street?
I don't remember this.
I'd like to do a little bit of research on that, because I don't think we did. I think we had someone come before us, and it didn't end up being 1,800 square feet. And I'm considering that the bylaw is 750,
700.
700.
Yep.
This is 3 times the bylaw. Now, we all agree that the bylaw needs probably some updating, But even if it's updated, I don't think it's gonna go from 700 to 2,100.
Or close to it.
Yeah. So I'm probably not comfortable without a little more research, and I would also like to see a regular plot plan drawing where, so the, the hand drawing that we received now isn't the size of this. I'd like to see something a little bit, we often do our decisions where based upon the plans that were submitted, and these plans aren't, to me, enough to give the building inspector to really guide him as to what we think is going there.
Well, the problem initially with the plan was that it was from the builder that he uses to make the buildings that he makes. And it was generic. It was, the doorways weren't my doorways, which that is an overlay basically of what he gave me. I just put it to my personal
Yep.
stop, so that is his dimension that he had given me. But in
Okay.
order to get it to look like what it's supposed to look like, I had to,
We don't blame you for any of this.
No.
It's not like you come before us all the time and understand what we want or don't want.
right,
But when you come before us, things get formalized.
yeah, I'm
Right.
sure. Yeah.
And maybe some of the things that are at least preliminarily acceptable at Town Hall and the Planning Department are not with us. We are an appellate board, so we make final decisions, as you heard from that first case, based upon application of both local and state law.
Yeah.
So it gets more serious at this level, and we sit as 5 judges, without the robes, but 5 judges nonetheless. We're what we're referred to in the law as a quasi-judicial board. So the point that Ms. Mello makes about these hand drawings is apropos. I'm inclined to agree with her. We need something a little bit more formal than this. And also based on the feedback that you've gotten tonight, and probably will continue to get in a couple minutes after I shut up again, you may want to reconsider the size of this once more. Because if you want that loft in there, which adds another 560 square feet on the downsized version,
Yeah.
then, you're at 2,100 square feet.
3 times what the bylaw currently regulates. And the other thing too is, almost everybody who's come before us, and I'm just gonna say, they have, even if it's from a builder, we don't necessarily see what the finished product's gonna look like, but it does show a schematic so you can see specific heights, lengths and widths, where walls are gonna be and that type of thing, and those are the type of drawings that the town is gonna wanna see as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the reason that I'm coming with this, at this point, is the builder apparently talked to the commissioner, or he had a conversation about his plans that he uses, and he's from Plimpton, and he had spoke to him about this, because I said to him, I think I need a certified plan, and, that's how I addressed it with him. And he said, well, I'll talk to the building inspector and see, what he wants. So that's
The building
where that
inspector
started.
here in town, or some?
Yeah, here.
Who was
So that's where
the
that
building
started.
inspector when you had this conversation? Do you know?
It's.
Because we've had 3 in the last year.
I know, and that's, it was recent. It was in the last, I want to say in the last 6 months that we spoke to him.
New building.
I think it was the previous one,
Right.
So we
the one
were gonna-
previous to the one that we have now.
I was going to push forward with more formalization if needed be by what the inspector had said, so that's.
Look, these plans are expensive. I know that.
Exactly,
And
and that's why-
you want to hedge your bets a little bit. You want to come before us, sort of dip your toe in the water, see what our reaction is, try to save money where you can, and I appreciate all of that.
And believe
But
me, I'm not.
if you're serious about it, hold on.
I'm fighting for someone else.
If you're serious about this, then you have to make a formal presentation that would involve showing us the actual plans rather than hand drawings with handwritten measurements in. This has to be done professionally.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I know that there's somebody else in your life that may have a preference to do it the way that you have told us tonight that you'd like to do it.
Yeah.
Namely your spouse, right? So talk to him about what we're saying tonight, give him some feedback about what's coming from at least me and Ms. Mello, I think Mr. Poirier. I have not heard from either Mr. Barrington or Mr. Casey yet, so what are your thoughts on this?
Quickly, first impression, the oversized building, that bothers me. You know, we're trying to create another bylaw, basically, going over the existing. So I think that's going to be one of your biggest
Unfortunately,
problems.
it's kind of like I'm kind of being the one to invent it in a way. Like, it seems like if the two-car garage is too small for what we would like to do, we wanted to have the bigger door in the back so that we can have a kind of, it's like a four-car garage, I guess. So that would basically be double the size of a two-car garage. So that would probably be, I want to say like 24 by 50. I think.
Think about the loft with me for a minute. Let's think about the loft. If the loft is open on one end, we're not going to count that square footage.
Okay,
Do you hear me?
yeah.
And insofar as the ground floor is concerned, you're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I can see that the 700 is the average size of a garage.
well, no,
And
it's
this
not
is
the
full
average size. It's what the bylaw, which is a bit outdated in our collective opinion,
Right.
limits us to. So anything more than 700 requires a special permit. And we have permitted lots and lots of barns and garages over 700 square feet, but to my knowledge, none greater than 1,800. So at some point, we I think, have gotten to the stage in our thinking where we have to draw the line somewhere, because these garages are getting bigger and bigger and bigger in town. And we see it, we're on the front lines. Mr. Barrington, do you have any comments?
Well, after making the visit, it certainly is set back off to the side, but the overall size, once you get back there, and then you look and you compare it to the house that's there, that it's large. And I think I'll echo the same sentiment that, 2,100 square feet is just really too huge.
And that's on the smaller version, the 2,100 square feet. On the larger version,
Right.
you're at how much?
2,400.
2,400 square feet. So we have no dimensional problems like we had on the previous case, right? This is just a size of the structure problem.
I would also add, and maybe this is the one that you're thinking of, Mr. Chairman, but there was a gentleman who came in and he had one that was going to be in that ballpark, and then what he ended up doing, the back end ended up being open.
Right, exactly.
And so
Yes.
whatever sides are open, it's only kind of whatever sides are enclosed. So if you go back and take a look, I mean, it's possible that you might, with the actual dimensions of that, you might be able to get under the 1,800 square feet, depending upon how much of that is open, let's say, on the backside. Sometimes people have openings on the side where they're going to put like stack wood, or they're going to put their lawnmowers instead of having to have like a tarp or a carport. So there are some other things that you might consider in terms of your structure and what it might look like that would help you to get closer to something that's not as big.
And I might add, for the record, that we didn't have any dimensions for the loft the first time you appeared before us. So this dimension, the additional 500 odd square feet, is new tonight.
Right.
This is the first time we've seen that. And so what Mr. Poirier just said, I think, is well taken, and what I said before about if you leave a side open,
Yeah.
then we may not count that as square footage. But if you're enclosing it, it becomes another room and square footage that we need to count, no matter what that room may be used for.
Yeah.
And there are people, I mean, there are companies that build structures of all types enclosed, some with one end open, some with the side open, some with both sides open with overhangs on either side. So the sides that are open, the only part that's counted as square footage is the parts that are enclosed.
Correct, correct.
Mr. Barrington?
Yeah, it definitely, as a, you know, again, from the front, you want to know how far back it went, you know, but we're bound by the dimensions, and that is huge.
Yep.
So any way to cut back and bring it down to be more reasonable, I think we've got to look at it that way.
One thing to consider is it's not so much what you would like to have, it's what you feel as if you need to have,
Oh, I know.
okay? If you, and we've had a lot of people come in over the years saying, this is what I would like to have. And then we have to kind of clip the wings a little bit and say, well, you know, this isn't allowed under the town laws. But let's see if there's a way we can fit it in. What do you really need, we ask? Not what you would like,
Yeah.
but what do you really need? And then we try to work with that.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah.
In the end, you're the boss. You decide what you want to show us,
Yeah.
what you want to pitch.
Yep.
Then we'll make the decision, obviously, but for now, you're the one that's driving this car.
I know. Okay.
Well, you and somebody else.
Oh, I'm gonna let him wheel himself in next time.
You're very nice, and thank you for putting up with us.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think that any of this should come as a surprise to you, given the size that's being presented here. And you have a beautiful property there, by the way. I want to say that for the record. It's lovely, and the house that's been renovated on that lot is really nice, and I love the chimney.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I'm
And
really-
in the garage, I'm sure whatever you were to build there is going to be beautiful, and it will be consistent with the other construction that's on the lot, namely the principal residence. But we need to work on this size issue.
Okay.
So for tonight, I would suggest that we continue this case, that we don't be put to a decision. Don't ask us to go to a vote tonight. Don't. Okay? Ask for a continuance.
Okay.
Then you go back, you have your discussions, you get your plan squared away, if you decide you still want to pursue this project, and then we'll have you come in February. How's that sound?
Okay.
Does that work?
Well, like my concern, I kind of, if I could get the size and then get the plan, because if I knew that size that I can get away with, then I can say, this is the size I need a plan for. This plan, the builder, whatever.
Well, you're going to have to tell us then what square footage you want to work with.
Yeah.
And then if we say to you at the next hearing, okay, well, that sounds much more reasonable.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to come back before us again with the formalized plans so we can vote on those.
Yeah.
So for you, what you're suggesting is 2 more hearings.
And I'm fine with that. I would rather.
And we'd like
know
seeing
what
you, so.
I would rather know what size I'm asking for when I get the plan made versus have a plan made and then have to revise it.
Yeah.
Because it still isn't.
You know, the
good
easy
enough, so.
thing is the plans. You've got to figure out the size. Because once you give your person his marching orders or her marching orders, they'll draw it up the way you want,
Yeah.
right? But you have to figure out what you need. Not what you want, but what you need back there. And I think you're hearing from all of us loud and clear that this thing needs to be downsized.
Oh, yeah.
Can I, so I'm just thinking out loud here, because I'm trying, I mean, these places that build them, though, I mean, do they charge you just, I mean, they basically have plans of all different sizes, right? I mean,
Yep.
do you typically get charged for a set of plans as soon as you start talking to them? Is that not having?
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, you try to look and see what you can find for a plan. and
Yeah.
We happen to, I mean, some people will say, well, what about a Morton building? It's simple, it's easy, it just goes right up in no time. There's even there's some people from Pennsylvania that will come and, and you can look online, you can choose what size you want. And it's like a pamphlet, you just pick your doors, and you can go with that, but it's extremely expensive. So when we.
Just for the plans?
You can't just get the plans, you get the ball rolling, you're signing a contract, you can't just purchase something from them that isn't.
Yeah, we're going to need some sort of set of plans.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm skeptical that you can't find plans from somewhere.
Well, it's not that I can't, it's just that we initiated it with the builder that we have
Right.
seen his buildings, that's why we started with him.
My suggestion would be to turn back to your builder
Yeah,
and say, I cannot move forward
Yeah.
without something more formal. If he's, if he's in the business, he's gonna know people that he can steer you
Well,
to,
he-
even if he doesn't do it.
he did say that the person that drew up the original, that's why I said to him that we needed a certified set of plans. So that's what I had said to him initially, and he said that he hasn't had to do that, so
Okay.
that's where this all began, so,
All right, so you're clear on what you need to do.
yeah.
Does anyone else have any final questions, comments? Young man in the back, you good? He indicates yes. So do I hear a motion to continue this hearing to our next date in February, which we'll discuss in a minute? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
So we're continued to February. We're going to decide on the date right now.
Okay.
Now, I have a couple of different schedules that I have to be careful with here, so we can reconvene, hopefully with all 6 of us. The second and fourth Tuesday in February, we should avoid. And what about you, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I'm waiting.
Same,
Yeah.
same two? So for both of the people's schedules about which I'm concerned, the second and the fourth Tuesdays in February are out. So
Okay.
let's pick another date.
Can I just, we do have one date in February already set aside.
We do not. Not to my knowledge, we don't. We have one date in January scheduled.
Yeah, our next meeting, we have something at the 25th of
25th.
January, the monopole.
Okay.
That's
Never
right.
mind. Thank you, I thought it was the first week
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
February.
No. So February is a new date for us.
Yeah.
All right, let me see here. You said the second,
Second and fourth Tuesday in February
well,
are out.
well, I mean, I don't know if it makes any, and the third one is, that's the February school vacation week. I don't know if that impacts anybody here, but,
Does that impact you, Mr. Bowler?
well, no, but there may be people,
How about you, Mr. Casey? Does that impact you?
We're on the same cloud.
Mr. Barrington, does that impact you?
Not at all.
How about you, Ms. Mello?
Not unless I'm babysitting
and-
grandchildren.
and the first Tuesday is only, I think, a week after the meeting on the 25th.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe the third Tuesday, or we can choose a different day of the week.
Oh, so it's, okay.
Doesn't
well,
have to be a
Well, then let me say this, the last week in February is not good for me.
And the week of the 14th,
Oh, actually. it
which
might
is,
be.
it's the that second Tuesday would have been the 14th. That whole week is bad for me.
Okay, well, we don't want any weeks to be bad for you.
So either the first week or the third week, and we can change day.
My suggestion would be the third week. So what?
The 16th? I'm
is that
sorry, the 15th.
The 15th is the third Tuesday of the month?
Yep.
No, I can't do the week of the 14th. The 14th
Yeah,
would
because that's the
be,
February school vacation week, right, Fran?
yeah, but that's not why I
Oh,
can't
okay.
do it. So, the 7th through the 11th, anything that week is good. The 21st through the 25th, anything that week is good.
Okay, well, the Tuesday of that week, which would be the fourth Tuesday of the month, is not good. So we'd have to choose the Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday of that week.
Oh, okay, it just can't, it's got to be, you just can't be the Tuesday, is that what you're saying? Okay.
I work every other Tuesday, so I'm waiting to see what you're gonna say.
Wednesday, the 23rd?
Fine. Good with me.
Mr. Barrington?
That's A-okay.
Mr. Casey?
That's good with me.
All right, so we will move our next date to the 23rd. And is that too far out for you, Mrs. House, or is that
No, that's great,
good?
yeah.
This is the most challenging negotiation I've had all night, is to get these people on the same page with their dates. So the 23rd of February, we're going to come back and receive whatever revised plans or information you'd like to give us, with the understanding that you may not have formalized plans at that time, but you may have
A good size.
a size and some new ideas, and we'll tussle with those.
Yes.
How's that sound? So I think we agreed to continue the case. Let's agree to continue it to the 23rd.
Okay.
All right? So that's what we're going to do. I will see you back here, Mrs. Howes, on February 23rd.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully
Thank
it's a
you.
warmer night.
I know.
Okay.
Hopefully it won't be snowing.
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
Nice to work with you. Okay, our next case is also a continued case, case number 100-6-0R, the petitioner being Windham PV 1 LLC, requesting dimensional variances pursuant to sections 2320 and 5222 of the Carver zoning bylaw for property located at 27 Windham Road in Carver. The assessor's map is 100 lot 60R, so as to construct a so-called dual-use solar project in the residential agricultural district. Variances are being requested due to the irregular shape of the parcel and the need for frontage relief. The subject lot has 105 feet of frontage. The minimum requirement is 150. Sir, are you here on this one?
I am not, sir.
Okay. So I received an email from the planning department a handful of days ago requesting that this case be continued, as they need more time to work everything out.
Okay.
I don't know what it is that they need to work out, or what may be brewing behind the scenes, and quite frankly, that's none of our business anyway. If they're negotiating or trying to dot all their i's and cross all the t's, that's a good thing. And so I would suggest that this case be continued to February 23rd, the date that we just established.
I'll make a motion to continue that case to February 23rd.
Okay, and do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that case will go over to February 23rd. Now, I have received something by way of correspondence, which is next on the agenda. This is a letter that I just opened this evening from a Cornelius Shea of 148 Plymouth Street in Carver, and he says that, and if you recall, I read a previous letter of his into the record when we were last in session, and he was having an issue with how the Board of Assessors had placed an incorrect zoning designation on property located at 155 Plymouth Street. And so he went into some detail on that in his previous letter, again, the one that I read into the record, which is part of the file. He has sent a follow-up letter dated December 20, follow-up to the previous letter of December 2. This one is addressed to the Board of Assessors, but is copied to a host of different people, including the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Department, and also the Zoning Board of Appeals. If I recall correctly, I think it was our collective decision at the time that this really is beyond our jurisdiction, that we don't, we're not involved in zoning designations, and that this is instead a matter that should be referred to the more appropriate bodies in the town of Carver, I would assume the Assessor's Office and the Planning Department. So this letter is basically a repeat of the letter that was sent to us earlier on December 2, 2021. If anybody wants to read it, he only provided one copy, I'm happy to hand it over. This is property apparently that has been abandoned, not been used as a business, which is how it was originally designated as a business, for a period exceeding 4 years. And so therefore it's lost, in his opinion, its protected status and reverts to the underlying zoning of the residential agricultural district. But we have no case involving that property right now. We handle individual cases and not request for zoning designation. This also seems to me could go to the building commissioner. So I leave it at that. Does anybody want to see this?
Nope.
Everybody remember that we took this up the
Yes.
last time?
Yeah.
So I'm going to place this with everybody's opinion into the file, making it part of the record for what it's worth, and then hopefully Mr. Shea will get a response to this from the appropriate body in town. Okay? All right. What else do we have? Just by way of reminder, we have another case, another hearing date coming up on January 25th, if I'm
I
remembering
appreciate
correctly.
that reminder.
And that's a monopole case. And we have a second case that's going to come up, a new one on that date. So I would expect that we will have two matters to be discussing at that time. And then we have the February hearing date now, and there will be two cases on that one. The one that we continued tonight, actually, we continued two tonight, right? And then there's a third one, a new one that I believe is coming in February as well, with regard to a South Carver property. So 3 in February, 2 at the end of January. Does anybody have any questions?
No?
Sure.
New.
You good? Mr. Casey,
No,
you good?
I'm good.
Okay. You good, Mr. Corey?
I am good.
Mr. Knoll? Mr. Barrington? Thank you.
Would like a cup of cocoa though, but because it's cold tonight.
This guy. Anyway, I ask for a motion to adjourn until our next meeting on January 25th.
Motion to adjourn.
I hear a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Carver. Stay warm.